I remember being in kindergarten going, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? You know, until I was 29 when I met my husband, it was just either a desert wasteland or total disaster. We were happy, obviously, because we were together. But I think when we got extra deluxe super happy was when the self-love kicked in.
Whatever it is that you've chosen to do, when you choose the present moment, you are automatically choosing yourself. I have a son. Let's say I'm making dinner, or we're making dinner together. If my mind is somewhere else, then I've introduced a third party. I'm no longer choosing myself. Now I'm like stressing about having to choose my son, myself, and this thing, whatever it is I'm thinking about. So if I let that go and I just stay present, now I'm just choosing us.
Hey everybody, welcome to Flow Getter. I'm Lisa and that's Erica. Hi Erica.
Hi Lisa.
Hi. So welcome back to another episode. Today our topic is relationships, which we haven't really tackled, and we're going to have a series, I'm sure, but today we're specifically going to talk about romantic relationships and how to have a successful and happy one. And that is a big question, and we've got some big answers for you. Erica, I want to know what your thoughts about how to have successful, happy, romantic relationships. The first question is, how do you even manifest that, right? Like, everybody's human. What are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh. Everybody's human. I love this. You're right, because I feel like most of us, I'm not going to say all of us, but most of us, and definitely myself, it's like, it's been such a big focus in my life. Like, where is he? Where's, when will he show up? And then when things don't work out, it's like this roller coaster ride, it's like, yeah. Oh my gosh, this is the one. And then no, it's not. Oh my God. And then it's just, yeah. And I feel like, it's a thing that most of us want in life. It's like sort of, I don't know. In any case, it took me a long time. And I definitely feel like it's just like everything else in life. I don't think that it's a never ending journey, because I feel like a relationship, romantic or otherwise, is its own sort of life force. It's its own thing that grows and evolves and changes over time. And my feeling is, maybe we should start with back up a little bit and
take it from the top.
Because I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were kind of chatting about, okay, why do we even want the romantic? Like, what's the purpose? What's the goal? Why do we even look for these kinds of things? And I feel like my answer has probably changed over the course of my life. And right now, if I were to answer that question, I would say, so I want to have fun with someone, emotionally, physically, spiritually, not in like a hardcore spiritual way, but more like, just like these two beings come together. Yeah, aligned. Yeah. Exactly. For me, I want to have moments it's a part of my life, but it's not my whole life. Yeah. Whereas before, I think I looked at it as more like, oh, it's 80 to 90% of my life is this relationship. And then, the 10 to 20% is everything else. Yeah. Now it's like, no, like 80 to 90% is me, my relationship with me.
Yeah.
And then everything else in my
center.
Life is, that's the center. And then, and percentages are probably not correct, but you know what I mean? Like, most of it is about me. And then the rest of my life is inviting other things outside of me into it. So yeah, what
okay, I have like 100 thoughts. Okay.
Good.
Take it from the top. I was an only child, so I didn't have any siblings. So I was already good being this, relatively independent. And yet I'm also a 211 in numerology, which, for those of you who don't care about that, it just means relationships are kind of my thing. So I've always really liked friendships, I really like to connect with people. And I remember being in kindergarten going, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? and just didn't have, I will say, till I was 29 when I met my husband, who I'm currently married to, it was just either a desert wasteland or total disaster. Like, it just was not. And I think because I didn't want to just be with anybody, and probably, I don't know, I wasn't also maybe manifesting as many boys as I might have wanted. You know, I was on the hunt. It was the 80s. I had big hair. Still have big hair. Right? And I was like on the hunt. You know, we had all the great 80s tunes with which to, you know, and I just was going, ugh. But I think since I was born, I had this belief that, like, and I mean, if you looked at my track record, it was like, girl, like, ain't nothing gonna work for you. You know, like, it was just not, I wasn't like, you know, there's some people that just have like, they get a lot of boyfriends and they're having relationships. They're like always dating. And I was like, me, you know, like Charlie Brown all the time. And then for real, like, it was not great. And I was like, okay, I'm amazing. You know, I couldn't think of all things, but deep inside, I'm like, I was not put on this planet to not be loved. Like, I just knew. And even when my husband and I started dating, like, it wasn't like, okay, well, and done. Like, you know, it wasn't just instant. Although there was an instant connection, it took a while. So, okay, what was my point? For those of you listening out there in YouTube land or podcast land, the point is that there might be something deep inside that tells you, like, you might be getting contrary evidence, but there might be something inside you go like, no, I will find my person. Conversely, you might be like, you know what? I might just have a smorgasbord of people and I'm good with that. You know, so deep inside yourself, you know what you want, or don't want. And all choices are totally acceptable.
Absolutely.
And seen. Okay.
No, your experience and your journey, I feel like, is so helpful. Because it made me think of kind of similarly, my journey was different. Where I had an example. My parents, you know, were like, you and your husband remind me of my parents.
Yeah.
Just
we
this
didn't have
really,
those. Yeah, I didn't.
And you guys didn't have that example,
well,
right?
Matt's parents are married and they were in love, but my parents got divorced, and they were like cats in a bag. Like, just put two cats, put them in a bag, hold it, and you're like, yeah. They're still awesome and treat each other well, but you know what I mean? Like, they just, yeah. Okay, anyway, continue on.
Yeah. So my parents, they met when they were 16, and they were together ever since, like best friends, kind of grew up together. And then they were just inseparable. Like, and I think too, it helped. They were also kind of, nomadic. So like, they would just wanted to go see the world together. And so I think that brings you closer too, where you have these shared experiences that nobody else has with you. So that was nice. And then of course my brothers and I had two siblings. And my brothers and I saw that. And so for me personally, I grew up kind of seeing that, not realizing that not everybody had that. And that was very rare, actually. And so I just assumed that that's what I was going to have. I was going to find someone and get married and have kids and be inseparable with them. However, my entire being is not created that way. And it took me a long time to figure that out. So I struggled a lot in relationships because I had this idea of what I thought was really the only option for me. And yet my entire being is like, but no, that doesn't fit who you are. Those things can't coexist.
Yeah.
So of course
that's a huge tangent I want to go off on, but
let's do it.
Keep going.
So I had a series. I mean, I tried the whole like full on, I got married, tried that, cohabitated, had the kid, didn't work. Then I tried again, got rid of the kid, got rid of all the things, kept the kid,
no,
but
just kidding. Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, well, maybe marriage isn't for me. So then I decided, okay, no more marriage, but I can still try to live with someone. So I tried that again. Still didn't work.
Dun, dun, dun. I'm just going to keep playing that tune.
I'm like, so I'm like, Well, so then I was like, well, maybe, and I will say there was a whole nother layer that was happening as I was figuring this all out. And that is the self-love piece and the
Here
comfort
we go.
piece. Yeah. Which we can
bring
get
us
into.
there, Tolle. Bring us. Yes.
Which what I realized, well, now I'm in an incredible relationship. And I will say every relationship I've had has been awesome. Like I've had moments and periods and lengths of awesome. And that's the whole point, right? But currently I am experiencing more awesome. And what's amazing is I've met a person who I couldn't believe it when I met him. This is a person who never wanted to get married, who never wanted kids, who never wanted to cohabitate, and knew it from a very early age. And kind of tried on, never actually lived with, never did the things, but entertained it in his mind momentarily throughout his life. But then, as he grew older, he was like, no, it just became more and more obvious that he's like, no, that's not for me. So I met him when he was very clear, no, I don't want any of those things. And I'm like, I don't either. This is great. So in any case, okay, one last piece on that, because it probably helps to kind of bring it all together. Where I am now is when it comes to romantic relationship, for me, what I want out of it is the fun, the partnership in terms, when we're together, it's fun, it's enjoyable. We share things, we laugh, we have all the fun together. And then we go and part and we live our lives. And then we come back together and we have all the fun again. And that for me is what, is what's important. I don't need to share we don't need to share finances or the home or those sorts of things, or have the children, those sorts of things. I realized, I don't necessarily need those things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I landed.
Well, also too, I feel like, and this is sort of a side note, relationships, once they pass a certain level of togetherness all the time, it's almost like it's easier to get along with everybody when you're just not living in the same space.
Yes.
And if you decide to do that, guess what? You've signed up for a workshop. And the workshop is called Fix All Your Crap. Okay? And not that you, darling Erica, are not fixing all your crap. But
I have a roommate too, so I get it.
You have, that's what I'm saying. Your roommate, you chose
I have a different kind of workshop.
A kid roommate. Yeah.
Yes, that's my workshop.
Yeah, it's like, where are my buttons? Blank, 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 blank. So you chose a smaller being to come with you on that journey.
It's a different kind of marriage.
Yeah, it's, exactly. It is. And I love my stepdaughter to the 10th power of her little DNA soul. And I didn't think there was a point to having children after, I was like, I didn't want them before because I just knew I wasn't mature enough. But then when she came along, she's great. I'm like, why would you try to outdo this? It's like, you're just going to set yourself up for failure. So just don't worry about it. But I think if you choose children and husbands, then you really got workshop deluxe. It's like PhD level. You got the kid one, I got got the husband one. It's like, it's good. I'm good. I don't need 10. It's fine. And so, and okay, that was my point, is that it's a workshop, which will be our family podcast. We're going to go way deep into that because these are people you can't get rid of. Mostly.
Yes. And, do you really want to get rid of them? Maybe not. Yeah. So how do we live?
Yeah.
How do we
get rid of your children? So, and people have tried, they're in jail. And, so it's like, all right. So I want to circle back to two things. And audience, thank you for sticking with us. I know this is our first relationship one. We're a little wow, okay, what are we going to talk about? There's so many dynamics to this. Okay, the two things we're going to talk about in the rest of this podcast and more is the self-love aspect and where you have to be in creating relationships. And then also I'm built one way and I want a different, or you think you want a different thing. Sorry, I keep hitting the mic. So those are really a big deal. How did you start to wait a minute?
It was definitely trial and error. And I'm like, how do we not have to go through decades of trial and error before you finally
how can
know,
we help
you know?
our
How can you?
viewers?
And I think the thing is, and it does lead into the self-love aspect, because I think, I'll just say this really quickly and then we'll get back to it later, because it's huge. It's kind of the start and finish. So you're right but I will just say this one thing. I think a lot of times we look for the romantic relationship because we think that it's going to, this is going to sound so Jerry Maguire, but it's going to complete us somehow, you know, like it's like, I'm only this part and I need the rest of it to feel whole. And that's where we get trapped.
Yeah.
Because we don't know ourselves fully. Maybe it's that we really don't know ourselves fully and we need to understand that part of ourselves. And it doesn't require an outside human being. And truthfully, you can use any relationship you have to get to know yourself better. You don't need the romantic one. Literally any relationship, any interaction, it doesn't even have to be the same person. It can be 5 different interactions throughout the day and you can pull something out of each one to see yourself better. And I think it's shifting your kind of perspective on, well, anyway, okay, I won't go there, but yes. Okay. So that there's that piece. Okay. Do you have thoughts?
I have so many thoughts. Okay.
Please.
I know it's overwhelming. I will say, I see what your brain is going, because there's so many pieces to it. And I think maybe the question we want to answer is, and that we started with, is how do we have a successful, happy relationships, right? So and I'll take it back a second. When I met Matt when I was 29 years old, I did not love myself. Okay. But I still manifested this amazing person, like can't even express. He's better than the whole planet. Like he's amazing. Okay. So I manifested this like jackpot situation. And I was like, I'll just tell you, I did not love myself, right? Especially not anywhere near where I am now, 600 years later. And I am like, going, okay, because a lot of people are like, okay, you have to love yourself completely and then you'll manifest. Well, that's a journey. So what helps you allow something in your life that helps you have a successful and happy thing? And so I'm going to fast forward through that relationship a little bit because it was like, for a while, right? And I think it circles back to when I got we were happy, obviously, because we were together. But I think when we got extra deluxe super happy was when the self-love kicked in. So you can still manifest relationships and they will be awesome and they will be like a workshop and they will either stick together or they won't and whatever. But I think as soon as you add that layer of putting yourself it's really tricky. I've learned, especially being my husband and I are really close and we share a lot, is how you're putting yourself first and how you're not putting yourself first. And the dance of to do that appropriately, it's tricky. Like, especially if you're an only child, you're like, me. And then if you're a person who grows up in a bigger family, you're always giving. And so you're over giving. Some people, Matt grew up and he had siblings. And so everybody's all over the place. And learning that dance without destroying anything is tricky. It's really tricky. So when you're I guess the spiritual aspect of this is if you can be more in the present moment with yourself and communicate when you need to and choose yourself when you need to, choose others when you need to, you're going to be better off. But if you're not in the present moment, you're not really present. You're not conscious. And so and the more conscious you are, the more you choose love in whichever situation is the right appropriateness. Because if you have kids and pets and husbands and all these husbands and wives and you've got everything, maybe you're polygamist, I don't know, but learning the dance of choosing self. And I think sometimes you have to choose other people, but there's a way to choose yourself while you're choosing other people. It's like there's a sort of a boundary or a constant, like an internal constant that you cannot push around, even though you're perhaps giving. Some people are just constantly giving and doing, and they don't feel depleted, and other people are instantly depleted with that. And why is that? Because the constant isn't there. So I think, long story short, along this journey, the self-love and finding your home within yourself allows you to know yourself better and make those choices better. And it's a process, certainly, but I think once you become aware of it, it gets easier. Your thoughts?
That is awesome. I kept imagining when you were saying, basically when you're outside of the present moment. Okay, so that's huge. And I just want to kind of dig into that just for a second, because when you're whatever it is that you've chosen to do, when you choose the present moment, you are automatically choosing yourself. And it just occurred to me because so it's almost like, oh, it's not a this or that. As we know, it's not a this or that. It's a this and that. So you can choose if you're choosing to, let's say, okay, for my version of marriage, I have a son. He's awesome. I adore him like nothing else on the planet, similarly. And so when let's say I'm making dinner or we're making dinner together, if my mind is somewhere else, then I've introduced a third party. I'm no longer choosing myself. Now I'm like stressing about having to choose my son, myself, and this thing, whatever it is I'm thinking about. So if I let that go and I just stay present and I'm making dinner because I've chosen to make dinner for us and, we've chosen to make dinner for us. Now I'm just choosing us and I'm there, right? So it's like anytime you're outside of the present moment, whatever it is that you're choosing to do, when you choose to be there, you're automatically choosing yourself. And that is awesome. And then you don't have to choose between that person outside of you. You're not even thinking about that. That's not even a thought. It's like, I'm doing this thing, I'm enjoying it or whatever. I'm here, I'm just doing it. And then before you know it, whatever it is that you've done, if it's serving someone else as well, then you've chosen you both. And it's pretty cool.
Okay, that was a mic drop experience for everyone listening out there. I'm like, my jaw, I know people can see my face. It's like, I'm freaking out and silently because I wanted you to be uninterrupted. That was amazing. Thank you for putting that so perfectly, right?
This is a quantum situation right here.
Quantum situation. And yeah, okay, we should just hang up. I'm kidding. That was amazing.
Well, let's go further because
okay.
Did you have thoughts?
Us to this step. No, just keep going.
So let's go further. So now that we have chosen ourselves, okay, now we're in the self-love space. Because when you choose yourself, you are automatically loving yourself. And that's when you open yourself up. If you're circling back to how do I find the romantic relationship? That's when you open yourself up to inviting that relationship into your life if that's what you really want. So I think the reason we get the reason that it can be a challenge, like anything else in life, is when we're either futuring or pasting. It's like we're stuck in, so the future, tends to give us anxiety when we're futuring. And then when we're pasting, it tends to kind of make us sad and,
regret, like guilt,
depression, whatever it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when you're present momenting, none of that can even possibly exist. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing in the present moment. And I just kind of want to talk about the present moment just for a second, even further, because I think, at least in my mind, I'm like, my gosh, but I have this list of 5,000 things to get done. How can I present moment when I'm trying, how do I just let that, like, that's like, those two things can't coexist, can they? I can't have the list and then be present moment. Cause then I'm like totally unprepared for the rest of my life. I'm like,
so glad you brought this up because people are so busy, whether they have children or not. People are so busy now.
Yes.
It's not the 80s and 90s anymore.
It is
right?
not. It is not.
Are crazy. Okay. So again, how, from your perspective, how does that happen? How can you be present, therefore self-loving, therefore creating amazing, successful relationships in any dimension?
Yes.
How do you do that when your list is as long as your arm and the phone and everything just keeps even distracting you further?
Yes.
What do you do?
Okay. So I think help. I know exactly. And trust me, like right? This is like the norm for me, unfortunately. But I'm kind of glad I'm living it because I feel like I can share my own experiences, knowing that
share
this
the
is not a
wins.
forever
I mean,
thing.
no one's perfect, right?
No one's
share
perfect.
The wins. Yeah.
And so for me, I am consciously currently working on taking things off my plate permanently. So because I recognize I have created this list of 5 billion things. It's just going to keep getting bigger. It's longer. And what I know is most of that stuff, it's not, all it's doing is creating more stress and anxiety. It's not important. You know, what I've done is I'm figuring out what really truly is important, what makes me happy without sacrificing, the needs of others, because I am a caregiver and I am a mom, and I realize, okay, those two things are very important, and it doesn't have to be a me or that, so for me, and then there's a whole bunch of other things, like being a homeowner, being just a human who has to live in the society kind of thing. I have a job. I have another job.
Throw it on somebody else, right?
Right.
Like you don't have a live-in adult person to throw things on. You deal with the plumber and you deal with it. Like you've got it all. Right? Which is like super power woman, but then also it comes with triple the challenges.
Right. And so what I'll say there is law of attraction. Okay. So if we go back to it always comes back to our fundamental beliefs. Okay. I have created this windstorm of things because of the momentum I've been building over the years. And I can slow that down, and I can, I know that no matter what, no matter what society or world I live in, at the end of the day, it is about the law of attraction. I 100% have full control over everything that is in my world. And even if I've never seen it before, I know it exists. I know it's possible. So there's that. Okay. Number 2 is this idea of slowing down. And that is becoming more and more evident that is what I need to do. I need to create a life where I cut the list in half, then cut it in half again, and then cut it in half again until it gets to a point where, it's like, oh, good. I can do this many things and enjoy every single one and be present during every single one. Yeah. And so it's sort of like, I guess I'm just going to throw out all of the things that we've discussed over the course of all the podcasts. Baby steps, right? So it's like baby stepping out, slowing down, remembering law of attraction, remembering it's all about feelings and emotions and energy and present moment. All of these things, it's cool how they all come together, and self-love, unconditional love. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just a cornucopia of things.
Well, so I love that so much that you're paring things down, because it's almost like you get good at, let's say there was 5 things. Okay. There's no such thing as only doing 5 things in a day, but let's just, for fun, think of it as just only 5. When you're 4 years old and there's 5 things. But you get good at being present in those things, it becomes a superpower. Then you can add 6 things. And maybe 7 or 8 or 9. And then, you're not going to add 8 billion back, but because why would you want to? Because you would leverage what you're doing to achieve more health, happiness, harmony, energy, whatever you're looking for. But I like this idea of really making the choice. And a lot of people are like, I can't, because, my kids have 5,500 sports and my job has 5,500 demands and whatever. And I'm not saying people have to go ahead and rip their lives apart, but I think I know for myself, I get in the I can't because mode. It's just too this and too that. There's just no way. I'm like, well, then yes, you will create that. So part of it's just getting into a space of the intention of having a successful relationship with yourself, successful relationship with others. When you have that intention, you're like, okay, then if I'm going to put that as my priority, I will sacrifice, spending time on Instagram and saying I don't have time for whatever, right? You will stop doing that. I mean, I love Instagram. Don't get me wrong. So many cute animals and weird chickens, and I love it. But also, I could just not, and make space. So, okay, tell me more about learning your who you really are. Like you're built, you know, like how this is a horrible example, but like one person's built for gymnastics and another person's built maybe for hockey. I don't
Yes.
know. I'm just picking weird. Like body types might
Like
be different
basketball
there,
and yeah,
or
totally.
basketball, and yeah, I don't. I mean, anyone can do anything. We're not saying
Yes.
that, but you've got an advantage because you're built for something, right?
Yeah.
So when you find out you're built for something, and you've been conditioned to want something else. Sorry, I beat up my microphone. The how I know in the journey you were conditioned one way, and then you had sort of the awakening spiritual, and you started learning about human design, and that kind of made you realize like, oh, I could be different and that's okay. So how what's your advice for somebody who's maybe seeing that, like they're not sure because they're coming out of their conditioning, but they're not really sure what they really want yet. So they're in between worlds. And sometimes when we're in between worlds, we suffer a little bit because we just want to land on what it is. I just want to know what I'm supposed to be doing here. And that limbo land is important. So tell me more your thoughts around all of that.
That's a great question. So several ideas popped in my head. And the number one thing is focus on you. So your relationship with you is the most important, no matter what, period. And the reason I say that is because knowing who you are and staying aware of what you're bringing into your life, and then, staying aware of kind of the energy you're putting out into the world, all of those things is what, how you can learn yourself. Because I really don't think that you can invite a truly, genuinely awesome relationship into your life until you've reached at least an area of where you really know you. And I think I love your example, or your experience where you met your husband at 29, and you admittedly, there was a lack of self-love there, and yet you still met this person. Now, I think that, I don't think I believe in every scenario, every situation. Now, you met this person at a point in your life where you're probably ready to start loving yourself, is my guess. Maybe.
Well, I think I'd sort of learned about spiritual stuff, gosh, even when I was like 20, but I think I remember I was at a workshop that it was actually breathwork or something. I think it was breathwork. And I'd taken the series and I was taking it again. And I was like, wait, I'd rather hang out with this new guy than do this stuff. So I know I was deeply in that stuff, and everyone's like, oh no, you have to complete your whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm choosing this. Like, I've been waiting for this my whole life. I'm going to step into this now. So I think if nothing else, all that stuff started shaking loose the doubt. Like the ego needs a tumble. It needs a spin cycle every now and then, and it gives you one. Life will do that for you. And so I think the spiritual stuff was more on purpose to get the ego to release all the stuff. And I think just that little bit of a window of putting that much focus on myself and being willing to like clear that egoic the you suck voice. We always call it the I suck voice. Like that was just you're working on and I don't know about law of attraction then or anything like that. So I wouldn't approach it the same way at all. But my point is yes, I was stepping closer to self-knowledge, self-love, self-consciousness in those things. And there was a window that allowed that in. Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I think we have I really think that we're presented with opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And there are infinite versions of things happening simultaneously. And so, could have easily been like you met this, like I could have met Mr. Perfect 5 billion times in my life. Okay, maybe not. Maybe like 10 or a dozen times, let's just say. And I really think that you can, if when you're in the right space, you can make things work with anyone if you're both in the right space. Okay, let me backtrack a little. Because the question was around, how do you know, like, how do you get to a point where you know yourself and you know what's good for you, right? Because we're all different.
Especially if you're in limbo land, like, because you're coming out of your conditioning. I mean, this would be like a 20-year process for me, right?
Same.
Coming out of the conditioning and into the self-knowledge and self-love. When you get just a little more critical mass on the knowing yourself, self-love side, not by any stretch there, but just there's way more critical mass there than there was in the old way.
Yeah.
You start to go, oh, thank fucking God, right?
Yes.
Pardon my French.
Yes.
But a lot of people are still in that middle limbo land and they need hope. And I'm here to tell you, it'll get there because this is the whole point of life. It will happen, but you got to kind of want it. You got to kind of be able to look at what you don't want to look at. You got to be able to love when you don't feel like loving yourself. You're like, no, you love yourself now. You never say that to yourself again. You know, like you have to put boundaries on only telling yourself supportive things, which is really difficult. You know, there's so many things to do. We're going to have like 85 self-love episodes. But anyway, what are your thoughts?
No, thank you for getting us back on track because I was like going off on a tangent. But this is great because I think that, going back to this idea of prioritizing your own relationship with yourself, that really is, that is the answer to it, all of it, in my opinion. And the reason is because, for so many reasons, when you stop focusing on the relationship that's outside of you, because I don't think you can have whatever comes into your path. But the focus should always be for here first. And then again, the present moment with you here. And then you're not having to choose, awesome person comes into your life. This person just, kind of like you're the cake and they're the icing kind of thing. And it's just like, you're already awesome and sweet and amazing and full and incredible. Yeah. And then this person comes in and it just kind of elevates the amount of joy that you're already experiencing for however long. And whether or not that person's there doesn't even really matter because you're experiencing moments of joy by yourself.
Yeah. And I see this in you for sure. Prior to meeting this particular person you're dating now or in a relationship with now, like you were just flying high. Like there wasn't, and that's why I wasn't surprised at all because I was like, of course, and you weren't using any, like you weren't using exterior things to make yourself happy. You were clearing and moving and doing a lot of self goodness and treating yourself right. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I do feel
basically
like
you lived the wisdom that we're saying, essentially. It's not just
I think that's, I do feel like, and it's a continuous journey, but I really do feel like now that I feel like I know myself better than every day, it's like, I know myself a little better and a little better and a little better. And as that continues to happen, and I love myself a little better because knowing yourself, that term to know someone is to love them.
Yeah.
Is there something?
To know you is to love you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. To know you is to love you. That's exactly it. And as I learned myself and what makes me happy and the things and then stop comparing myself to the outside world and stop thinking that I have to fit myself in a certain group or, type of society or type of situation, that no, I create my own situation and it doesn't have to look like anything else that I've ever seen before. Yeah. And as I embrace that and own that and love that, that's when automatically you start having experiences, you start meeting new people, because they're also there as well. And you're like, oh, and you admire that because you love that about yourself. And then you meet someone who's also similar like that. And you're like, yeah, I like you. Let's hang out,
Let's do this. Yeah.
Let's do this. Yeah.
Well, I love, if I can jump in here, I feel like that's the advice and a nugget is that you're really just taking the time each day to be like, okay, so let's pretend a person was journaling okay, what did I learn about myself today? What do I love about myself today? Yay. Like those just two questions. But if you're doing that consistently, your focus, which creates a lot of your reality, all of it, um, like as you focus on those things, each day you're going to feel better. So even if your limbo land is longer than you want it to be, you're kind of not sure what you want. And that's totally acceptable. I've been there for decades, and a lot of people are there in different realms, not necessarily all the relationship ones, but whatever it is, you don't have to be impatient to want to get out of limbo land if you're not clear, because each day you're getting clear, as you said, you're getting clarity all day long. You're just not paying attention to what you learned. You're not just wasting time here on the planet and then it's going to pop up someday. Every day you're learning about yourself. Every day you have opportunities to love yourself. Like, oh, I love that I did this, or I totally screwed up, but I love myself because who cares that I screwed up, because who cares?
Because I learned this thing.
Yeah. But nobody's people rarely take the time to take a minute to see what they learned and what they love about themselves. And that would move you so much farther of where you want to be, but they're just going to be all like, when's it coming? And then I'm like, you're not going to get anywhere like that. And that's why it's taking so long. Yeah. Because you're not looking at what you're learning about yourself or what you love about yourself.
Absolutely. And if we remember that life is a mirror consistently, when you meet someone and then you end up in a relationship and then it goes south in some kind of way, shape, or form, and you're like, why? I thought you were perfect. It's like, okay, that's an opportunity to go inside, because it's always about what's going on inside. It's never about the external is just there to show you what's going on inside. Mm-hmm. So if you end up in a relationship that's fabulous and you love it, like, oh, that's a nice little mirror, mm-hmm. I do feel fabulous and I do love my life, and then like you say, like the workshop stuff that's why we have relationships, is so that we can see ourselves better and more clearly. And, and we can highlight in each other certain things, pleasant or not pleasant, that's why, and it's awesome. But just remembering that, I guess the bottom line for me is like, relationships, if you want that romantic relationship, step one is to just go inside. Always go inside and let go. Like, universe knows that you want that, so you can let that go now. They're going to get it. It's going to deliver what you want. You just have to be ready for it. It's kind of like that Abraham getting ready to be ready to be ready to be ready. Yeah. Get ready for Mr. or Mrs. or non-binary person to come along and present their perfect self to you. The more perfect you feel inside, the more perfect that person is that's going to show up. So just know
we mean human perfect, not
human perfect. Yeah, not like no. There's no such thing. No, because it's always growing well. Yeah. Perfect in the moment. Perfect for this. Like yeah,
that is step one. And when you're inside, you can also be more present, which is 100% helps the success of everything you're doing at all times, because all your power is there. The manifesting, I know we sort of skipped over it, and I know we're getting shorter on time, but I'll say this. The focus on what's working about your inside, it's like, why are you spending time having any, you can learn from things like, oh, I don't like that I'm doing this. Well, instead of just, everyone stops at beating themselves up. Don't do it, first of all, but don't stop there. Go, okay, why am I doing this? Oh, because I'm super depressed. Oh, why am I depressed? Because I need something else in my life. Oh, I don't want to make a change. Why am I making a change? Because I'm afraid. Okay, like dig around and figure out till you hit the end of the internet in your own body. Don't go on the internet. It's except for your Flow Getter show. It's like if you really want to solve something, like get in there, dig around a little bit and figure out why you're misbelieving things about yourself until you can be positive. It's like dig around until you can find the positive, like, oh, I'm just totally miserable. Oh, okay. So I'm not a stupid, lazy idiot. I'm totally miserable. Oh, I can do something about that misery. Okay, I can change this, whatever, but it's like, anyway, that's an inside journey, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And I just had another thought that I
Yeah.
didn't want to forget, and I apologize
No, it's
that
okay.
it's only kind of related. But I was thinking, just to serve as a reminder for everyone, your relationship, whatever it is, very likely won't look like anything if you're struggling, it'll probably look very different than what you even imagine. So I guess the reason I say that is because staying open, like I think we get in trouble, and I got in trouble for decades thinking that it had to look a certain way. It has to look like this because this is what I see. This is what everybody else is doing around me. This has to look like this. And when it doesn't, that's not it,
Yeah.
and then of course it's not going to work out.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's why the only thing we ever have control over is what's inside. That's why you go there, is because when you gain clarity, so much clarity, when you really become ultra familiar with what's going on inside. And then you can start to control what's going on inside. And that's how you control what comes into your life. If your thoughts are very different than what is actually going on in the rest of your, if you see things, and again, I'll just kind of remind us that our minds and our thoughts are really there just to observe. They're there to collect kind of information that's going on, but they're not there to make decisions. They never are. They never were. That's where we get in trouble, is when we're like, oh, we see this thing, and now I'm going to make my decisions based on what I see outside of myself. No, go inside and feel what's happening on it. If you see something and it triggers a feeling that's like, that's cool. I'm so glad, that looks amazing. But that just doesn't quite feel like it fits into my being and my soul for myself. I can see how beautiful that is out there and how that might work for one person. But there's something inside of me that's pulling me in a slightly different direction. Feel that. That's your direction in life. I think I got in trouble because I saw my parents and I saw how beautiful it was. And it was amazing and it worked for them,
Mm-hmm.
And then when I tried to make that work for me, because logically that's what I was seeing, and like, well, that logically that worked for someone else, so that must be how it works for everyone.
Yeah.
Every single time I tried to force that situation in my life, it didn't work and it felt horrible. And then I created all sorts of sadness for myself.
Yeah.
And so I think, remembering that your journey is unlike anyone else's on the planet. And so knowing and understanding yourself equals loving yourself, equals finding what it is that you want and didn't even know you wanted.
Yeah. Equals success.
Equals success.
Like
Thank you.
equals. Yeah. And I think for people who let's say they want a really close, super close, like glued to the other person relationship. One, you're going to need to find some balance. I'm going to speak from experience, because my husband and I are just like the two peas in a pod scenario. And that's always awesome. And, like balance is good. But what I really wanted to say, and I know we're wrapping up in time and we're going to expand on this in our future podcast, is I remember, okay, so basically if you want to be loved and be in loving relationships, you have to be love. And what do I mean by this? Most people are really good at loving out, at least probably the majority of people we're interacting with, at least, I don't know. People are pretty good at loving out. Not a lot of people are actually good at receiving love. And I remember, because, your mom had passed and some other, abuelita and a few other fabulous people, like you were able to connect with the other side, because their bodies are gone, but their eternal energy, soul, spirit is always there. You were able to feel love just from people that knew you and unconditionally loved you. And so I think one thing I remember is you tapped into, this was eons ago, but I remember you tapped into what it felt like to just be loved unconditionally. And you were like bubble bathing that. You were like, yes, like you would just meditate and think about that. And so if you have to use people that are in another dimension of physical, they're not physical anymore, to start allowing yourself to be loved, Some people it's God, some people it's Jesus, some people it's, departed loved ones, whatever works. Or practice that, okay, you have nobody, you can't even think of anything, just practice what it feels like to be loved. Because you want to be in a state of receiving love. Because when people are like, I want to love you, and you're like, nah, that's not fun for anybody. Like, people love to give and they love to have whatever they're giving taken in. And so that's kind of my final, I know we've said a lot of different things today. And that's, I think the final one is, practice the state of the thing that is the most beneficial for you. And receiving love, I think, is pretty beneficial. So
that's huge. So first of all, we have a whole podcast on unconditional love. And we dig deeper into what that looks like, and unconditional love, meaning you are unconditional love. Like remembering that, I think a lot of us don't even realize that we are made of love. And I know I've said this before, but I kind of, when we use terms, like we call the source energy, I love that term. I also use the term love to say the same thing. And the reason I say it is because for me, I believe we all come from that loving, sourceful, like to me, they're the same thing. Yeah. And so if we're made of that, that is who we are at the core. And so you can't get away from that. It's just a matter of remembering that. I think a lot of times, A, we don't know, B, we forget. Yeah. And so we withhold love, and then because we're withholding it, we're not letting it in.
Yeah.
And so if you remember that you are that, it becomes easier to just freely give it. And when you freely give it, you're opening the doors to freely receive it. It's the same thing. Giving and receiving is the same thing, love. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. Right. Remembering that. And because then you don't feel, if you believe that, you don't look outside of yourself for it. You know that you're like, oh, wait, let me just get back to that loving space and literally any positive thought will bring you back to love. Yeah. It's not this thing that's out there you're striving to find love, you just go find yourself, because that's where it is, So yeah, thank you for ending on that, because that's the whole thing.
That's the enchilada right there.
That's the enchilada.
That was amazing. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I want to talk for 6 more hours, but we probably should let people go eat and drink. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm sure they're doing all their things. Thank you so much, Erica, for all your deepness. We're going to obviously continue on the relationship train and all the trains, because we have so many ideas. Listeners, watchers, viewers, followers, we love you guys. Thank you so much for being here with us. We know that you're here with us. We want to hear from you in comments. You can contact us through our website, and we would just love to see more of you. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.